as we have this latest article here by CNBC saying President Trump announces new 5G initiatives. It's a race America must win. I don't think it's a race we must do. I think we should be very critical of this. And the guest joining us today is, of course, philosopher, scholar Max Igan, who, of course, will be talking about that, plus a lot more, including how in Australia they nearly almost totally got rid of 5G. First of all, Max, how are you? And what do you make of Donald Trump talking about 6G, 7G, and what looks like a very forced kind of government initiative to rush through 5G as fast as they can? What's your thoughts on all of that?
Well, a lot of the people that are pushing it through, I mean, they're not just evil people, a lot of them are doing it because of money. They want to do it because of the profits that are going to be involved. But I think, Trump, and really when you look behind the whole thing, it's about surveillance. It's about control, controlling every single aspect of human life. That's what 5G will do. And not only that, it's a weapons system. That's what I keep pointing out to people. It's a weapons system underlying the whole thing. It gives them the ability to do anything you can think of that, the military has ever done with electromagnetic weaponry. It's all 5G powered. So that's what gives them the capability of doing it, or, the possibility. So you've got to ask yourself whether you trust your government, whether you want to give them this type of power.
So this is a follow-up to the last video. What you just listened to was a little clip from the We Are Change YouTube channel interviewing Max Igan. I haven't really listened to too much of Max Igan or We Are Change, not since I was listening to We Are Change, not even consistently, but just a reference, maybe 3 years ago, 4 years ago. That's the last time I really paid attention, but it's been around for a while, and this channel is kind of like prides itself on being kind of like fringe from Alex Jones and TYT. So this, in comparison, this would be like a part 2 to the last video about white truth and racism, white supremacy being like a non-issue within white truth. And you can see that if white truthers are speaking about white truth, what kind of truth will they avoid? Obviously white supremacy. It's not that big. It's not like a huge shocker or anything. It's just something that is downplayed by the so-called white truthers because they are in charge of the so-called truth, the same way they are in charge of the information with the mainstream media. This is what the empire, the institutionalized racism psychology sets up. It creates that atmosphere so that when anybody does question the status quo of thought, they will run into a brick wall of you are wrong, you are racist, reverse racism, you're against unity, you're being divisive. You can see the wall of you're wrong without actually acknowledging the information and the ways that you are right. Because the ways that you are right threaten the ways that they are right. Because their version of right exists in a world that is completely encompassed by your truth. Your truth is the macro truth that encompasses the micro truth that these so-called white truthers are inadvertently protecting. For the people who don't know what they're doing, they are inadvertently protecting the empire by putting out exactly what the empire wants. The empire wants the people to just really kind of generically water everything down to we are all one, we're all human, it's all about unity, because that's the glue that holds together the New World Order, the whole one world government sort of thinking. They're not going to sell you the truth. They're not going to give you the truth. If the truth is really going to set you free, they're going to give you enough truth that will give you the illusion of being free within a system that still is based upon slavery. So this is what the so-called white truthers are the soldiers for. They are the soldiers for midstream truth. And what that midstream truth does is that it makes the midstream truth as complex, or seem more complex than the mainstream illusions. And just because you're no longer talking about the mainstream illusions, the masses will think you're talking about truth. Since you're no longer in the web of obvious mainstream distraction, anything out of there, people will just go to the next step and think that that's the truth. That's the answer. This, like I said in previous videos, people's truth is not the truth. People's truth today is only the truth because the truth that they are talking about is truth in comparison to lies. See, the truth in comparison to lies and the truth in response to deception, that is not full truth. That is orchestrated truth. The orchestrators of the lies and the orchestrators of the fear are the ones who are amplifying and instigating that midstream truth. So so-called white truth isn't really truth. So-called white truth is truth in comparison to deception. It's half-truth at best. It's truth based upon the lies. See, this is and this is beneficial to the system because the system needs to vilify itself so that it can also make superheroes out of itself at the same time. So this is why you have the Democrats and the Republicans existing out there as the bad guys and the good guys. And there's confusion in between on what that actually means, because the system eventually will tell you who the good guys and the bad guys represent. And this is what late night talk shows represent in that whole thing. So what they do is to instigate to make the villains seem more villainy and the superheroes and the truthers to seem more superhero-y and truthery. What they do is they make the stories so crazy that only people with big hearts and people who are telling the truth will possibly be talking about 5G. Only the people who really care and who are really on our team could possibly be putting their butts on the line and talking about chemtrails and gay frogs and talking about the Bilderberg group, and only the real truthers out there would be putting their butts on the line for us and just letting this truth get out there, and oh goodness. And then behind that, what they're saying is, just like in the comment of the last video, people are saying, so what are we supposed to do? Not look at the facts? The facts are that according to the IQ, that white people and Asians are way smarter than black people and brown people. This is absurd. Are we just supposed to ignore the truth? The truth that white people and Asian people are smarter than you guys? Are we just supposed to ignore that? That's the absurdity of the institutionalized racism. So this is them ignoring the institutionalized racism of generations upon generations that have been designed to make certain people smarter and make other people dumber. So it's not only they're putting guns and drugs into the inner cities to kill black and brown peoples, but they are also putting shitty schools, shitty food, shitty water, shitty air, shitty law into the inner cities as well. That's also part of white supremacy. See, white people don't see this in the fucking suburbs. They only see the good schools. They see the freedom talk. They see the we are all equal bullshit. And the only reason that they think people in the inner cities are in fucked up situations is because they think they put themselves there. They think that they got, and in that, they think that they put themselves there because they think, and they've been told the story for so long, that they got where they got because of hard work. Good old American hard work. You really think your little white, blonde hair, blue hair ass, blind-eyed, blue-haired ass didn't fucking get any kind of privilege getting where you got? See, that's the lie that's been told to people. They say, oh yeah, that capitalism is a great, democracy is a great, and this is not to say socialism and all that other stuff, because that's the other bullshit distraction that gets said. Oh, if you're not about this and you're about that, don't get fucking distracted. This is what's going on here. The system has been designed to put certain people on a pedestal and kill other people. To put other people underneath the fucking foundation, to destroy them, to put them out of the history books. This is a known fucking fact. And the side effects to that are that the people who have been put on the pedestal, they also get perks in society, whereas the other people don't get shit. In fact, they get anti-perks. Anti-fucking perks. This is what white privilege is. So on the aftermath, now you have people in the science community, because they are so used to the white supremacy education system, they actually believe what the white supremacy education system tells them about the certain people. They actually believe that white people and Asian people are smarter than non-white people and non-Asian people. They think that. And they think that the institutionalized racism that's in the university systems has nothing to do with the intellect of the fucking people. They think that the public education system has nothing to do with black and brown peoples around the world being subjected to this bullshit, to being subjected to this low IQ type of intellect. They are being taught the low IQ intellect by the system that is designed that. The same motherfuckers that design GMOs in your fucking food have designed genetically modified education systems in the inner cities. And if you motherfuckers are too dense to see that that has an effect and they're using that shit to control people and make people think a certain way, then you are fucked. That's your problem. So beyond that, getting back to the video, this is another example of Alex Jones and Joe Rogan and Owen Benjamin. This We Are Change, that's like InfoWars, and this dude on here is like the Alex Jones of We Are Change instead of InfoWars. And he interviews people like Max Igan. These Max Igan are the people, like the other white people who just analyze white society, and they continually analyze white society, and they make the white shit that's going on so fucking complex that you think that that's the only story. You think that that's the only truth. You think that that's the only thing that matter. Why? Because the white-owned internet services they put them on blast. They gave them all the subscribers. They gave them all the attention. They connected them with all the other YouTube channels, and they made that information important. So the same way the local news, the mainstream media, the television as a whole puts certain shit to make it look important on television, they do the same thing on the fucking internet, and still people can't see it. So the people, instead of seeing it, they want to take advantage of it, and they want to make it look like they are just like that. So people like DITRH are, promoting people like Owen Benjamin, what the mainstream media is promoting. People like Owen Benjamin, they're doing fucking work for them, only for their own fucking benefit, giving them the benefit of the doubt that they don't know what they're doing. They are doing the work of white supremacy for the system and not even fucking knowing. They don't even care. They're not even aware of it. So, when you listen to that first little bit, you can see the introduction to the first little bit of this video. You can see the introduction to how the distraction gets made. They have some big glorified out of this world sort of thing that's threatening us to scare the shit out of you. And then they provide some kind of mediocre, median type of approach of thinking to what's going on, and then you don't have any solutions, you don't have any origins, you don't have any. I'm not saying I have solutions, but I do have the origins. That's what the macro is about. See, the thing is, they give you all these half-ass, fake-ass, or not even origins. This is, they focus all their information and their energy on their fake ass, like what we should do. We should be talking about this. We should be doing this. We should be recognized. Like, it's all about 5G. 5G is the biggest threat. Oh, gay frogs are the biggest threat. Oh no, it's the Clintons are the biggest threat. No, the Jews are the biggest threat. No, it's asteroids that are the biggest threat. No, you know what? It's the terrorists that are the biggest threat. See, all these stories that are out there have different storytellers to tell you what's important. So instead of looking at different magazines in the shopping, in the grocery store, when you're getting ready to check out, you see all those magazines up there next to the candy. This is the candy. So this is that checkout line. The YouTube. This is the impulse buy. The internet YouTube channels are impulse. What are the impulse information? That's what it is. Impulse information. So you have all these people who are just grabbing the magazines and candy bars off of the impulse aisle while they can. And that's social media. It's like, hurry up and get out of here. If you're talking about old shit, it's not an impulse anymore. It's not going to have an effect on you anymore. So this is where the system is now using the internet to its advantage, to its benefit. It's saying, all right, well, we got to keep them moving. So this is why the stories change so quickly. 2 seconds ago it was about Nipsey Hussle. Now the fucking Catholic, the Notre Dame burned down. Now all this other shit, you know, like you see how the stories change over and over and over again. And what really controls everything is who controls the dialogue, who controls and what controls the story. That is where the power is. So this is why the stories keep getting faster and faster and faster, because people are starting to disassemble the way the stories are affecting us. And what I'm saying is that racism, white supremacy is starting to open the door of how you get in, analyzing, acknowledging racism, white supremacy is starting to open the door to get into how this stuff starts to affect you. This is why people can't talk about it, because they still haven't figured out how this stuff affects them. So this is why dumbasses like DITRH are so fucking oblivious to this that they will repost an Owen Benjamin video as if he gives a fuck about what we're talking about, as if he gives a fuck about truth, as if he gives a fuck about flat earth, as if he gives a fuck about anything other than himself. You will have these fake truthers promoting that information over and over and over again. Why? Because they haven't done the work themselves. They don't know how this system affects them. They are still consumed by the what and the who that is going on in the information streams. What is the question? What? Flat earth. Okay, flat versus globe. Well, they got that down. They got the science and all that. They can hold on to that easily. And then the who is now what? Well, since it ain't Mark and Patricia and B.O.B. and Tila Tequila and all these other Shaq and Kyrie Irving, since it's not them anymore, it's Logan Paul and Owen Benjamin. So they are anchored. You can see how they are anchored in the mainstream media. They're not anchored with you, the people. They're anchored in the mainstream media. Their work, their information is based upon that system. Until they break that circuit, until they break that codependency program and start thinking for themselves. See, they won't be able to think for themselves until they figure out how the system works. They don't know how the system works, and they don't care to know how the system works, because that's not what gets views. That's not what gets subscribers. What gets views and subscribers, which is what they're about, the numbers, is what the mainstream media is talking about. But what gets views and subscribers is not what empowers people. What empowers people is the knowledge of the way the system is working against us as a whole and individually. So if you're just regurgitating what the system is putting against you, are you helping? Yeah, you can argue at that to the slightest degree. Yeah, they're sharing information, but at this point, they're just repeating shit now. Like it's been like this is why I use DITRH as an example in this video with Owen Benjamin now. Because at this point, like I can understand you had all those 3 years going on 4 years now to keep holding on to that. We're just adding to the flat earth information stream so that, you know, the numbers get up there. To what end is the whole point? And they will never answer that. To what end are you getting up the numbers? And then at this point now it's like, well, what are you sacrificing? What are you losing now? You're losing some of your own people now. You're losing some of the people who actually were trusting you and that whole thing. I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about other people who trusted them and followed them in that whole flat earth community bullshit. But that's what's happening now. Since they have nothing else of substance, they only have to attach themselves to the mainstream media talking heads that are out there. So this is why Owen Benjamin and Alex Jones, like they're all in there, and in the videos, but they don't really have anything of substance to share to you. The only substance they have is the anti-substance of the mainstream media. What I'm saying is that you will never get any power of yourself internally or externally by continually focusing your energy on the power of the system. You have to unveil the power within yourself. And the only way you can do that is if you start analyzing how the system is still affecting you, which keeps you away from activating your internal power. You will not be able to activate that internal power if all of your energy is focused on these controlled opposition distraction as storylines that give you the illusion of having truth. They give you the illusion of having knowledge of what's going on. You have the feeling like it feels good to get a social media post that is kind of like a secret. Like you know, because it's only your group of people who know about that. Like other people don't know about this shit yet. And you're like, fuck, that's pretty tight. But the side effects to that, the potential side effects to that is to celebrate yourself and turn yourself into a fucking superhero and a celebrity now that you learn that little thing before everybody else. But the side effects to that is also that you get consumed by that bullshit and you get trapped by it and you become stagnant and you don't learn anymore and you don't move anymore. And then you become dependent on what gave you your fake ass power, which was that mainstream media. And then after a while, you become stagnant because you didn't grow. You didn't challenge yourself to understand what it meant to be powerful without the power grid. That's what these systems are not going to tell you. They're going to play the victim. Oh, we're doing the best that we can. Other people talk about other stuff and other things, and we talk about this because this is what we're about. That fucking excuse, the time is up for that shit, because you motherfuckers still are talking about we're truthers and we talk about truth and all that other shit. Fuck you. Fuck that bullshit. Because when they get on those, when they come on your live streams and all that other stuff, they play the same role. They act the same way as Owen, Benjamin, and Alex Jones get on. What the fuck did Bob from Glowbusters do when he got on Bro Sanchez's thing? He got into an emotional tyrant and started turning himself into the victim. Sound fucking familiar? It's the same shit. This is what they do. And they don't come onto your platforms because they are thinking to themselves and telling their subscribers that they are the victim. Oh, those are those black people. They're just angry. We're not going to go over there and talk to them because they're irrational. They just can't understand that it's just flat versus globe. And as soon as everybody just thinks that, we're all the same and that, comes together and thinks that we're all human and everything is just going to be better than, no. In your simple ass mind, that's true. But our ancestors are telling us we have a lot of fucking work to do. Your ancestors ain't saying shit to you. Your ancestors are telling you this is what's happening. And this is the difference between so-called white people and so-called black people. Our ancestors are lighting a fire under our ass and telling us to get the fuck up and say something about what the fuck is going on. Their ancestors are saying, you better stay as quiet as possible because as soon as you start talking about racism and white supremacy, the empire that keeps you safe and that keeps you comfortable is going to let your ass go and you're not going to have any power anymore. What's going to happen if black and brown people start running the country? Your little white ass ain't going to be in charge of nothing. You're just going to be scared and in the corner and your white power, your white privilege ain't going to exist anymore. You're going to be like everybody else that they're going to overtake you. Your music ain't going to matter. Your education ain't gonna matter. Your intelligence ain't gonna matter. Your schools ain't gonna matter. Your mainstream, your television ain't gonna be the same. That's what white people thinking right now. They're thinking they're gonna lose everything, and because they don't want to lose everything, they will kill everybody else to protect to protect their shit. They will fucking murder and destroy the rest of the world because they don't want to lose what keeps